So let's look at the numbers of people who say they want to keep the crime.
President Trump putting other major cities on notice as he takes over the D.C. police force and mobilizes 800 National Guard troops into the nation's capital. The president saying he wants federal agencies to combat crime that he believes is out of control. Let's bring in CNN chief data analyst.
Now, I don't like it when talking heads say he believes. It either is or it isn't. So if they are making a report saying that Donald Trump says that there's a spike in crime in this city, it's not true. Don't say he believes. Don't frame it as if the person speaking is lying. Call it out and say he's lying. Here are the facts. Because what they do is they conflate statements saying he believes this, and then they spend the rest of the segment running circles trying not to say that the crime rate is actually higher than other parts of the United States, especially red cities where they are not soft on crime.
Harry Inton to break these numbers down for us. So Harry, let's start first with, do DC residents actually want this?
No, they hate this whole idea. I think there's some idea out there that Trump's somehow a conquering hero, but he's in fact is welcomed in Washington, D.C. as Eagles fans are Commanders games. What are we talking about here? Well, take a look here. D.C. residents on Trump and local issues. He's too involved. Look at this. 71% say he...
Okay, so those of you who don't know anything about Washington, D.C., is that D.C. is the bluest, it's not a state, but if it were a state, it's the bluest state out there because it's filled with Washington bureaucrats. And Washington bureaucrats are people who want to keep their jobs. They want to stay close to power. They want big government. They want increases in government spending, because when there's an increase in government spending, they get more money. It's the bluest state. It's not a state, but it's the bluest part of the country. So they are the poster child for Democrat support, along with Chicago, New York, and California. So when you have polls like this, it is definitely political. It's not common sense. These are not common sense numbers. If there's crime on your streets, how come they weren't solved until he got involved? Isn't that the conversation that we should be having? So 71% says he's too involved. Interesting.
Is too involved, and this, of course, was even before Monday's actions, compared to just 11%.
Every president, and I'll put it out there, every president has been too involved in the running of Washington, D.C. It is by design. They didn't complain about Obama's involvement in the day-to-day of Washington, D.C. Only when Trump does it. So, like I said earlier, when we read from the scriptures, this is an unfair weight. It's not balanced. Democrats in Washington, D.C., which is majority Democrat, love it when a Democrat president is too involved. But when it's a Republican president, they have polls like this.
Just 11% who say they want him more involved. In fact, a majority of every single Demo tested by the Washington Post in a poll earlier this year found that they believed that he was in fact too involved. D.C. residents hate this whole idea of Trump getting involved in local issues.
All right, so there you have it. Trump is wrong for getting involved in solving your crime problem because he's Trump. Obama didn't do anything about your crime problem. He was fine with it. Joe Biden, not sure if he knew what was going on in the city, but let's assume he was fine with it. And then a president finally decides to do something about it to show an example, because here's what Trump wants to do, and he said as much. He says, we're going to do this very quickly. And once we do it and show everyone that it's possible, like what they said about the border. They said the border requires Congress to sit and to plan how the border will be closed. And Trump said, no, all it takes is a presidential move and it's closed. Everyone said, no, he's talking through his behind. And then he comes back into office and does exactly what he said was possible. All it takes is a decision by the president. So all the dancing and dribbling that the Biden administration did about the border, refusing to do anything about the border until over 10 million people came in illegally. You know, for those of you who want to say who they were undocumented, fine. They were undocumented. It still means illegally, right? And when they were told repeatedly, why haven't you done anything about the border? They said they needed Congress to sit. And President Trump came in and solved the problem. In less than 6 months, the border was shut. So now he's about to do the same thing in these cities, or at least in Washington, D.C. And of course, the blue cities are panicking because when he cleans out the crime in those cities, the question will come up, how come you guys haven't done this in 60 years? You guys have said that you were trying to solve the crime problem in our cities. But look at what Trump did in Washington, D.C. in 3 months. He said it's not going to take time. I would predict he'll get this solved in 3 months. And when the whole country sees that it is possible to solve crime or high crime rates in blue cities in less than 10 years, he does it in 3 months. Do you know what they're going to say? They'll say it happened because he was an authoritarian. It happened because he used the military. He's not supposed to use the military. And then some others will say it happened because the crime rate was already low. So let's see if I'm right. Now, while we're talking about crime rates, there's a story out here that shows how evil the soft on crime stance of the Democrat Party is. We'll listen to this story and then give our reactions. Now, don't forget that you can post your comments in the comment section. You can also leave a chat. I'm going to read your chat and respond to the chat. The poll on the YouTube side is still running. We're still at 100%. People agree that Trump's involvement in cleaning up crime in Washington, D.C. is a good thing. 100%. Reasonable people are taking the poll here. While you have hinged Democrats saying that they're okay with crime, 71%. I have my issues with polls because honestly, people who take polls, who spend their time taking polls, tend to be people who aren't busy. Tend to be. They don't have kids, don't have jobs that are serious jobs. They're like people who have the time to take polls. Most people who are busy and have responsibilities don't take polls. So most of the time you run into these numbers. I am very suspicious about these numbers.